Hi everybody, it's Patty, Rockstar Mom. I am so happy to say again, welcome to my channel and welcome back to my channel. I am finally back. Many of you have sent me messages, one way or another you've reached me, wondering if I had quit YouTube, if I had just decided not to continue with my channel. And that's not the case at all. I needed a break. I needed a much needed rest, and that's where I've been. I wanted to take just a couple of minutes this morning and talk to you about 2018. I think all of us have years that were just jam-packed full, not only of good things that were happening, but not so good things. And that's sort of been the kind of year this has been for me. It's been a very eventful year. You know, this year started off great for me. We went to Barcelona and fulfilled a dream of a lifetime for me. We spent a month in and around Barcelona, Spain. Rented a flat, many of you know, and just used that as our base there in Barcelona, and then we just went out from there. We had a very, very full month. Jim was ready to come back after that first month. I wasn't. I could have stayed, but we came back. And then Biscuit came into our lives. We knew after Bagel died that we wanted another fur baby, but we wanted to wait until we really felt like the time was right. And circumstances just came together back in the early spring, and we were able to locate Biscuit. And we actually got him the end of July. And oh my goodness, has my life changed. I was so used to Bagel being so laid back, and she never barked, she never ran, she never had an accident in the house. She never met a stranger. She was just the perfect dog, the perfect dog. And along came Biscuit. And that was being up 2 and 3 times a night to take him out. It was the crying in his crate at night, keeping us up. I was out in the middle of the night, you know, with my flashlight, with him on a leash and a little bag. And for a month or so, that was how I was spending the time that I should have been asleep, resting my body. But we knew sooner or later he would come around. I'm happy to say that we're seeing just a tiny little bit of improvement in him. Not a lot. He's super energetic, super hyper. He's just a puppy. He's almost, in fact, in a couple of days he'll be 9 months old. But he's still jumping some. My arms and my legs look like, well, they're not pretty, especially my legs. But he's not jumping as much. We sort of have that under control. What he's doing now is he's discovered his voice, and it's the barking. So we're working on barking, and hopefully we'll have that in check soon, or we're going to be crazy. On October the 8th, there was a mandatory evacuation executed, and that was a Monday. And we knew, because of everything we were seeing on the news and reading about Hurricane Michael, that it truly was headed toward us. And so we knew we would evacuate. And we were going to evacuate on Tuesday before it was scheduled to hit on Wednesday. But we talked about it and decided we would go ahead and evacuate on Monday and beat the traffic out of town. So we were able to get a hotel room up in Andalusia, Alabama, and we headed out on Monday afternoon for Andalusia with our important papers, biscuit, a few clothes, and that was it. We got there, and of course on Wednesday the hurricane did hit, and as many of you know, it was right out of Category 5, and all of the reporting is not in on it yet, but from everything we're hearing, they do think when it's all said and done, it will prove out to be a Category 5, which may be the worst hurricane to ever hit the continental United States. Unlike Katrina, this was a wind event. It was not a water event. Katrina in New Orleans was a water event. This was a wind event, and it blew everything away. As a matter of fact, you're probably looking at a few pictures right now, and I'm going to show one in particular that was of Google Earth, and this was published just recently, but there are two pictures. One is before Hurricane Michael hit, the other one is after Hurricane Michael hit, and you can see a huge, huge difference. If you look at that picture, it's just a small area, but the waterway on the bottom of the picture, if you could go just a little bit underneath that picture, over to the right, is where we live on the water. So it's just right at the Gulf. So it is still devastating down here. We're starting to see a little bit of clearing, but you can't go a block, not even a block, without seeing blue tarps on roofs. Hurricane Michael covered about it was about 40 miles wide. So it was fairly large. And we were on the western inside of it. The further east it went, the worse it got. So as bad as it was for us, it was a lot worse for others. And there are still several hundred, maybe 1,000 people either living in shelters or in tents waiting. I think they've been approved for the FEMA trailers. They're just waiting for them to get here. A lot of our small businesses are gone, and they're not going to reopen. Some of our larger businesses are not going to reopen until later on in the spring. Things like TJ Maxx and Home Goods and Big Lots and all of those stores like that, they were wiped out. They're just shells of buildings there now. So they are, some of that will come back, but there's an awful lot gone, which means there's no work for the people who are here. So that's a situation too that's still going on. So I just ask that you continue to keep all of my neighbors in your hearts until they're all settled and feel like they're back on the road to rebuilding. I know you will, and I love you for it. I love you for all of the sweet messages about it and the money that you donated, because I've asked you to. Thank you. Thank you. It's a big task ahead. Then, just a couple of weeks after Hurricane Michael, my daughter Jennifer got married, and what a celebration that was. We went to Arkansas for the wedding, and it was just the most beautiful time for all of us. It was just wonderful. We came home, and we had a cruise planned for November. The cruise was toward the end of November, and it's sort of the same cruise that we take usually between Thanksgiving and Christmas every year. It's down in the Caribbean. You visit a few islands, and I think it was a 10, 12-day cruise. And I honestly thought that the cruise would get my mind off of everything that was going on here. I needed something to get my mind off of this. So I truly thought the cruise would do it for me. It didn't. Because for those of you who have taken cruise or have traveled much, when you meet new people, the first thing they want to ask is, where are you from? And when we would say Panama City Beach, that's what they wanted to know about. They wanted to know if we were affected, and if we were, how, and were we okay. So, you know, we were constantly talking about it. But I have to tell you the most wonderful thing that happened on the cruise. So, and by the way, my battery just went dead on my camera, and I did not have my other one charged. I had to change my camera back to my old camera. I am so sorry, there's going to be a difference, but you can see the difference that a camera makes, or a good camera makes. This is a Sony camcorder, I think. I think it's a Sony camcorder, but it was the one I used before I got my new DSLR. So we board the cruise ship. I believe it was on Friday morning, and we sailed at 4 o'clock Friday afternoon. We went to dinner that night. The next morning, we decided to go up on, I guess, the top deck to the buffet and have breakfast. We walk into the buffet and turn to go over to the right to the window there to try to find a table. And I heard, Patty, Patty. And you know, my mind's going, okay, wait, someone's calling my name. And I turned around, and it was Norma Shotwell. And I said, okay, I don't recognize you. Are you YouTube? And she said, yes, I subscribe to you on YouTube. So I walked over to where she and her husband were sitting, and she introduced me to her husband. Jim and I sat with them and talked and chatted and had just the nicest few minutes with them. And then we wound up seeing Norma lives in Tallahassee, which is a couple of hours north of us. But we saw him a couple more times at the buffet. We saw him a couple of times in passing. But we didn't have an opportunity to spend more time with them because they had family members traveling with them. So we didn't want to interrupt their family time. That was awesome. Then about halfway into the cruise, we were in the buffet again. This time I think it was for lunch. And again, I heard, Patty, Patty. And I turned around to see where it was coming from. I thought, this can't be happening again. And it was Marie Balsh. And Marie, hi Marie. Marie is another subscriber. And oh my gosh, how lucky can you get? I did not see Marie again, but how awesome is it when you're a content creator here on YouTube and just out in your everyday life or on vacation, you run into your subscribers and they recognize you. So, hi Marie, hi Norma. We came home 2 weeks later, the middle of December. We got a new grandson, and oh my gosh, how handsome and how precious is he. In DC, they live in the DC area. This was our Christmas, to have all of the family here in Florida with us. We alternate. this was our Christmas, and because there was no way he could travel or they could travel with him, they asked if the family would like to come right after Christmas, and that way we could all meet Tyler and of course see Allie. And we said yes. And Jim and I actually flew into DC on Christmas Day. We left early Christmas morning and flew into DC. And oh, be still my heart. You know, for someone who never thought they would ever be a grandmother, to now all of a sudden have two under the age of 2. Pretty awesome. But anyway, he is precious. But Allie is such a good child, but her dad says she's a little bit jealous, which is only natural, I think. And so I spent most of my time with Allie and loved every minute of it. And then I've been to Washington so many times over the years, and I've seen pretty much everything there is to see. But Thursday afternoon, the one thing that I asked personally to do while we were all there was I wanted to go to Arlington National Cemetery, because that's the one thing that I've never done. So we went. And for those of you who have been, you know the walk. They do have buses that you can ride to get around, but we chose to walk, and it's uphill. And when we finally got up to where the tomb of the unknown soldier is, it was packed. It was packed. There were a lot of people there. There were just a lot of visitors in the city last week, I'm sure for the holidays. But when we got almost up to the top of that hill, it was like there was just a total calm. It was quiet. There were a lot of people up there. They have steps going up that you can stand on or sit on. That was full. There were people standing, you know, on the other two sides. The back side of the tomb goes straight down the hill, so you can't get back there. But it was so quiet, even the children. The reverence was unreal. We stood there for just a couple of minutes. We didn't know, we hadn't checked to see when the changing of the guard would take place. And would you believe, we had only been there a couple of minutes when that ceremony started. So we got to see the changing of the guard for the unknown soldiers.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? I am Staff Sergeant Courtney of the 3rd Infantry Regiment, United States Army. Guard of Honor, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. The ceremony that you are about to witness is the changing of the guard, in keeping with the dignity of this ceremony.
We left there and decided we wanted to, you go down a little bit and then you go up another hill. I wanted to see the eternal flame where President John F. Kennedy is buried. So we walked that hill and got to spend a few minutes there. And then we left. Friday morning, very early, we left to come home. I think, all in all, I've had a really nice 2018. a lot of wonderful things happened for me. We traveled. We took a lot of small trips that I've not even talked about. But except for Hurricane Michael and this devastation, it was really a good year. I have seen these magazines and I've never purchased one. I've purchased the ones on crafts and all other kinds where crafters work, that type of thing. But they're these big, heavy magazines. Have you seen these? Normally you see them at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or Joann's. You might see them at your bookstore. They're expensive. They're around $15. This one actually was $19.99, which is way too much for a magazine. But I saw this back in November, and I think I got it at Joann's, and I put it down when I came home, and with everything that's been going on, I hadn't had a chance to read it. And yesterday, I picked this up to read. And this one is called Bella Grace. And I was not familiar with this particular one. It says Bella Grace, Life's a Beautiful Journey. And the articles in this issue are Finding Your Wild, 56 unique and life-changing apps, infusing calm into your workplace, 40+ little milestones worth celebrating, the anti-hustle. As I was reading through, I came across a particular article that really got my attention. And I want to share just a tiny little bit with you. It's the article 40+ little milestones worth celebrating. And I want to read you just this little paragraph. I guess the editor wrote this, but it says, when we think of milestones, we often think of big birthdays or anniversaries. We like to think milestones can also be something smaller, like the day you decided to stop covering those gray hairs that just keep multiplying. Big or small, there are so many moments in life worth celebrating. We ask our readers what milestones they've recently celebrated, and we're touched by all of the responses. We feel honored that you shared some really amazing larger ones with us, and we're rejoicing right along with you. Here we're sharing our favorite smaller milestones that have recently been reached. And I want to read you just a couple. I thought this was interesting. Navigating through airports across the U.S. on your own later in life. After never traveling alone, I succeeded in doing this on my own. The freedom is scary at first, but after lifting my luggage into the overhead compartment, I realized I can do this. That's a good one. Because of a nickel allergy when I was a kid, I was unable to wear braces. At 40 years old, and through the miracle of technology, I am rocking braces for the next 22 months. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Instead of commenting, or you can comment any way you want to, I'd like for you to tell us in the comment section below at least one milestone, small or big, that you've hit in 2018. I can't wait to read them, and I know all of your sister, brother, viewers, subscribers would love to see milestones that you've hit too. So in the comment section, tell me about those milestones. I want to thank you so very much for sticking with me this past, well, really the fall, because it's been probably 6 weeks, maybe longer, since I've posted a video. I've filmed a couple of videos, but I just wasn't in the right frame of mind to even edit them and get them up. I've watched very few channels, very few videos. I've barely been on social media. I just needed a break. So thank you for staying with me. Know that I love you. Don't forget to go out and be kind. Just be kind, okay? Love you. Bye-bye.